Okay, Brian in Fort Lauderdale. Excuse me, Brian. You're on with Alex Jones and me. PrisonPlanet.com, INFOWARS.com, ThomHartmann.com.
Tom, thank you so much for taking my phone call. Yeah, I think it's great that you guys are doing this simulcast.
It's guaranteeing that neither one of us is ever going to get a national TV show. That's what it's doing.
That's true. Yeah, I listen to both of you on a regular basis. I wanted to say something to Alex, because I can never get into his show. See, Alex, I think your show's great. I really enjoy listening to you. I agree with a lot that you talk about. But one problem that I have is that you use a lot of sensationalism and fear hype to, I don't know, kind of promote your show or yourself. I don't know what it is. But one example is your claim of how the New World Order is going to eliminate 80% of the world population. And you cite Bill Joy's article on why the future doesn't need us.
Well, I cite a bunch of articles. Okay, go ahead.
I've read that article numerous times. Don't see any mention of anything like that. I wish you would back some of your claims up better.
Oh, okay.
Brian, good start. Alex, you're suggesting that there's a plot to eliminate 80% of the world population?
Yeah, let me comment on this. My film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, has all the quotes. He takes out of context one thing I mention as evidence of the elite saying that they're having discussions about should they go ahead and just get rid of all of us because they don't need us anymore because of robotics and systems like that. So that's what I was talking about there. Now, State Department memorandum under Richard Nixon with Henry Kissinger says we'll use State Department Memorandum 200, we'll use IMF and World Bank money to make India and Peru and others sterilize half their women or they don't get money. That's on record. Then the 1996 UN Biological Diversity Assessment.
But hang on just a second, Alex. Let's assume that all that's true. They're working against their own best interests. You know what happened after the Black Plague in Europe was the Renaissance.
The Renaissance.
It created a middle class because when you reduce the size of the labor force, you drive up the cost of labor.
They didn't have robotics and robotic fleets, and the whole military is converting over to robotic tanks and aircraft. They don't even need the soldiers.
It's not enough. Let me toss out an alternative conspiracy theory, and that is that the anti-birth control movement around the world is part of the keep us all enslaved by jacking up the population to the point where
Tom, you're absolutely right, but it's more sophisticated. And I understand with an audience here, we've got to not dumb it down, but simplify it for time. Okay, but okay, yes, you're right. If you read the British Royal Commission on Population, Commission 1944 to 49, a 5-year study commissioned by the British government, they say that. They say we want to stop birth control in the third world so that they use up all their resources and don't industrialize to threaten us. And that was one school of thought that was done. Then you have another eugenicist school of thought, which is hyper-dynamic, and it's the most powerful.
Maybe they'll cancel each other out.
No, that's basically what's happening, and it's causing needless destruction. But no, you're right. There is actually a conspiracy. We conspire to do this simulcast. So I mean, conspiring is just people talking and two people planning something. So look. Dr. Eric Pianka at UT says he wants 90% of us to die, and the issue is he gets standing ovations. This has been on the news when he says he can't wait for 90% of us to die. Yeah. So my whole issue is that there is a dominant idea of eugenics that metastasides into crypto eugenics after World War II. That is the dominant system in scientific thought in our society, that humans are parasites and bad, and we need to get rid of the humans. And then that gives the globalist, the head of the CFR, wrote 1991 for the Club of Rome, Richard N. Haas, he said, we're going to use fake terrorism as one pincer to control the public and fake environmentalism as the other. Am I saying there isn't fish die-offs, the trees being cut down, toxic waste dumping, real environmental?
I think you're pushing the edges here, Alex. I think you're pushing the edges. But but like I said, on both sides, let's move along here. Scott in Portland, you got something to say to us.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, taxes basically are rent on our infrastructure. without our infrastructure, none of those rich people would have made it.
You're not even listening to my point. My point is that it doesn't go to infrastructure because criminal elites, like in the Soviet Union and in the United States, always come in and get control of it, and they're destroying our infrastructure. They have tax incentives to move offshore that both parties support. Well, and by the way, I've got loaded phones if you want me to go to some too. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Well, let me just put a punctuation mark on that, and that is that we have this is why don't the rich pay their share? In 1955, the top 400 Americans in the U.S. Paid 3 times as much income tax as they are today. And if they were paying the same tax they paid in 1955, which, by the way, was a period of great stability, we would have an additional $35.9 billion. If everybody who made over $2 million in the U.S., which was the 91% tax rate back then, if they were paying a comparable income tax rate, which would be 49% in 1955, actually after deductions, right now they're paying 23%. We would have collected an additional $200 billion. That seems like a good thing if our government is using it appropriately. It's a bad thing if our government is using it to bail out bankrupt banks.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. Here's my point. Is the big bankers come in, they lobby for higher taxes on the middle class and the working class. They then take our money and bail out for themselves and give themselves bonuses. That's how this works. And if you study it, as you know, if you make about $1 million a year or $200,000, $300,000 a year, you're paying about 35–40% because the deductions, you can't count them now. But as soon as you start making $5, $10, $20 million a year, you drop down to 20%. Then you've got all these lawyers and firms. And what did Bush...
This is why I say roll back the Reagan tax cuts.
Well, I mean, what did Bush do? As you know, he took almost all the FBI off the billionaires and put them on blue collar.
I know. It's nuts. And here we are, the paleo-conservative and the paleo-liberal, Alex Jones and Thom Hartmann simulcasting, prisonplanet.com, INFOWARS.com, ThomHartmann.com. Alex, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Thom Hartmann radio program, simulcasting with the Alex Jones radio show. And Alex Jones and I. Alex, your turn to pick a caller.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's take a couple of them. Adrian in North Carolina, here on the air with Thom Hartmann. Go ahead.
And Alex Jones.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. All I called in about was today is, of course, the Tea Party that a lot of us are having in our capitals. We live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we'll be participating in our Tea Party here starting at 6:30 p.m. And we have copied off your copies, actually our copies of your film, The Obama Deception, as you said publicly we could do.
Yes.
We will be, and we will be handing that out to as many people who would like to have it. We're also going to be videoing it. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely. And for Thom, just for Thom real fast, I'll let you finish. I appreciate you calling. See, the Obama deception, as you know, Thom, exposes the left and the right, tries to shatter that paradigm. And so we go to these...
I understand. Yeah, no, I saw it. In fact, I've been advocating, for 3 days, I've been telling my listeners, Alex, go to the Tea Parties. I've got a piece on commondreamstoday.org, for example, that says, the original Tea Party was a revolt against the British East India Company. It was a revolt against the world's largest corporation getting a massive tax break.
Global corporate crime syndicate.
That's right. That's exactly what it was. The original Tea Party was against global, and so I'm telling my listeners to go to these Tea Parties and hold up signs that say things like, get us out of the WTO, get us out of NAFTA. I mean, these are things that...
Yeah, but what you're going to find is...
Tax the rich,
leftists
tax the corporations.
But, Thom, leftists are going to show up with these signs, and they're going to find they agree with, quote, Republicans about ending NAFTA and GATT.
That's my point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that actually, as Americans, Alex, who believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, there's more that unites us than divides us.
I agree, and that's what Fox News wants. They want to make it a phony, neocon, mainline right-wing movement. Just like in the 80s, they took over Christian conservatives. They've ridden that horse to death now.
Well, it's not just Fox News. I think, the corporate media right across the board is playing into this.
Well, they're trying to jump on the Ron Paul, Alex Jones horse, and it's not going to work. And again, I will say this, at least the left, people like Oberman, are admitting that Obama is worse than Bush on many things like civil liberties, which I thought was impossible.
I absolutely honor Keith Olbermann and Rachel Maddow for both calling him out on it.
The Republicans wouldn't do that.
No, they would never do that with Bush.
Oh, no, but
Not
Bush
until
has
after
done
he's
no
long
wrong.
gone.
Oh, he's perfect.
Shall we pick up another caller from my end or from your end, Alex?
Let's take one from my end because we've already taken some there. Real fast, though. Dave in California. Dave, you're on the air with Thom Hartmann. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. You're the best guest on George Norrie's show, by the way. I do want to say chemtrails are being ignored, and it's ridiculous to discuss global warming when you don't mention chemtrails. Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah, Tom, did you know that we discovered thousands of declassified government documents? They call it testing, where they are adding to the jet fuel barium salts and other things, and aluminum dioxide that is spraying the atmosphere. And now Obama's come out and said, you know what, we need to go ahead and think about doing this. And then he cites the Council on Foreign Relations playbook that calls for terraforming the planet to save us from global warming, when this spraying actually shows it'll heat the Earth.
Yeah, I know that there have been some pretty crazy suggestions about how to, that, and let's seed the oceans with iron and things like that. But
they tried that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, let's take one of your calls. Okay.